For 7 years, I thought I knew everything about my boyfriend, our relationship, and the life we were building together. But recently, my whole world came crashing down when he admitted to something I never imagined could happen. He confessed that he had been unfaithful to me, and it shook me to my core. The confession came after a long period of strange behavior when I started noticing things that didn't add up. One evening, he came over to my house, his face filled with guilt. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't expect him to tell me the truth about the affair. He explained that it had happened 4 times, spread out over a few months, twice during the summer and again in October. The most hurtful part wasn't just the betrayal itself, but the realization that I had been blind to what was going on right under my nose. It started innocently enough, or at least it seemed that way at first. In July, he began responding more playfully to the comments of a coworker, a woman who had always been flirtatious with him. I had noticed her before, and while I didn't like how she acted around him, I trusted him enough not to be concerned. I thought nothing of it when he would laugh off her flirtations, assuming that he was just being polite. But that all changed when he started engaging with her more, replying in ways that made it clear he was enjoying the attention. The first time it happened, he stayed after work for a party at her house. He knew she was interested in him, and yet he stayed. I asked him later why he'd stayed when he knew what would happen, and he said he didn't want to be rude. The party ended late, and he was the last one there. She kept asking him to stay, and despite knowing her intentions, he let himself be persuaded. It wasn't a one-time thing. Things escalated from there, and the other 3 instances happened in similar circumstances. They never communicated outside of work. It was always during those after-hours events when the lines between professional and personal were blurred. When I asked him if his coworker knew he had a girlfriend, he told me that everyone at work was aware, but he had made it clear to her that it wasn't important to him. He would get frustrated if she ever pried into his personal life, and eventually she stopped asking questions. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could he let it go that far? Why didn't he stop it before it even started? The last time it happened was a month ago. After that, he decided to put an end to it, telling her he couldn't continue being involved with her. She was angry, understandably, and upset because she had been made into a mistress. The next thing I knew, he came to me, his face pale, and admitted everything. He came over one night looking like he hadn't slept in days. When I saw him, he just hugged me, and for a moment I thought everything was fine. But then he said something that made my heart sink. "You might hate me after I tell you what I need to say." I was confused, not knowing what he meant. I had no reason to believe that he had been unfaithful. Not after all the years we had been together. I trusted him completely. I thought maybe something else was bothering him. Something at work or with his family. But when he finally confessed, I couldn't believe it. At first I thought he was joking. But as he started crying and apologizing, I realized it was true. He told me everything. The when, the where, and the how. They had never communicated outside of work, and everything had happened in secret, right under my nose. It was hard to process. I asked him why he was telling me this now, and he said it was because the guilt was eating him alive. But I couldn't wrap my head around it. How could he do this 4 times with the same person and still be able to look me in the eye? His explanation was that he had gotten caught up in the attention his coworker gave him. She had flattered him, complimented him, and made him feel special. He admitted that it made him feel good about himself in ways that I hadn't been able to. But even then, I couldn't understand why he didn't just come to me if he was feeling insecure. We had always communicated openly, and I would have listened if he had talked to me about feeling neglected or not enough. He said he wanted to be honest with me, even if it meant losing me, because he couldn't live with the guilt anymore. He claimed that the least he could do for me was give me the freedom to choose whether I wanted to stay or leave. I wasn't angry at first, just heartbroken. I kept thinking, how could someone who seems so in love with me do something like this? How could I have been so blind? Our relationship had always been one of mutual respect and trust. We were both young, still figuring out life together. People around us admired our relationship because we balanced each other so well. He understood how busy I was with my work, and I understood his hectic schedule. But we always made time for each other. He would show up when I was stressed and needed someone to talk to. When we had disagreements, they never felt like they were between us, but rather about the issues in our relationship. We could argue all day and still feel secure knowing we were both committed to working things through. And now, all of that was thrown into question. The trust that had been the foundation of everything we shared was shattered, and I didn't know how to put it back together. I kept thinking about all the good times we had, how much we had both sacrificed to build our life together. But then I couldn't ignore the one glaring truth. He had lied to me. He had chosen to deceive me. And that hurt more than anything. He begged me to take time and think things through. He said he was willing to wait for me to decide whether I wanted to try again. But deep down, I knew that I couldn't go back. Trust was too important, and I knew I couldn't forgive him, not fully. He had betrayed me in a way that I could never forget, and I wasn't sure I even wanted to try. I broke up with him, though it wasn't easy. He kept messaging me, trying to talk things out, and sometimes he would drop by my house. Even his mother reached out, asking if I was okay and expressing her disappointment in his actions. I hadn't told my family yet because I wasn't sure how to explain it to them. They had always seen us as the perfect couple, and I felt embarrassed by what had happened. Still, I kept thinking about everything we had built together. We had both grown up together, learning about love, life, and the future. It was hard to let go of the person I had shared so much with, but then I reminded myself that no matter how much I loved him, I deserved better than someone who would betray my trust. I couldn't go back to a relationship where I would always wonder if he would hurt me again. In the end, I decided to return everything he had given me. I knew he wanted me to keep it, but holding on to those things only felt like a reminder of the betrayal. It was easier to let go and start fresh. I still loved him, but I knew I couldn't be with him anymore. A relationship without trust isn't a relationship at all. It feels strange to write this all out, to process everything that happened. I still have moments where I question if I made the right choice, but deep down, I know I did. No matter how much love there was between us, trust is the most important part of a relationship, and that was something I couldn't rebuild.